Hi, welcome to the Fantasy Football Clown Show. I'm your host, Ed Smith. Today we're going to take a look at the Clown 1 League that we recently finished up drafting, and I want to dig into the whys behind how we set up this draft and what we were trying to accomplish, and maybe even a little bit more of just some of the background of what goes into setting up a draft and how we look to address it. And I guess the first thing is we had 13 people log in and try to take 12 teams, and so I quickly decided that that last person was going to share a team with me. I was like wondering, should I just watch how it all works and then come in behind and just manage it as a commissioner? But I thought I'd like to be able to pick players because I want to kind of get an idea how well the system works. And so this is going to be kind of a breakdown of the blueprint I've been doing now for 3 years of startups. And so this is year number three, and we've kind of seen it come to fruition and how it wins and what happens. And so it's evolved a little bit though. So I'm just going to kind of share the maybe some of the ways behind it. And so I had a co-commit or a co-owner, Justin. He helped me with the team, and so excited to have him along for this journey, and he was able to help with maybe this player or that player, where I would say, hey, let's go this position. And so kind of what we do is we first understand the rules of the league, or the league scoring. That's a critical piece, and with all the clown leagues, there are 12 starters. There's two quarterbacks, two running backs, three receivers, two tight ends, three flex. So for 12. And then there's always 18 bench spots. So it's important to kind of know the breakdown of we have 12 starters, 18 bench spots, 5 taxi, 5 IR. So what that means is there could be 40 players from teams that are owned, and so we take 40 times 12 to get our total league number of 480, and we divide that by 32 teams, and that gives us a good breakdown of how many players per NFL teams in just those four positions are rostered. So we start to realize how deep this thing is going to be as we're pulling third tight ends out of the Houston Texans. We start to realize, okay, there's not going to be much on the waivers. So now we start to say, okay, where do we want to monopolize? Where do we want to capitalize? Because you can't be great everywhere. You can't be great at every position. So you have to decide, well, okay, so what do we know? We know that quarterbacks last into their 30s. We know that tight ends last into their late 20s, early 30s. Receivers last into their late 20s, and running backs last about their mid 20s, and they have a short shelf life. So we kind of look at those terms, and we want to have our running backs be good when we can win. We don't want them to be good after we can win. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And we don't want them to be good before we can win. That doesn't make any sense. So then we try to look at when can we trade these, at what brings the most on a given market for trade, and then where are the most points scored. So those are all things that go into why do we pick and where do we pick. And so what I fundamentally believe is you always take the best available player, not the highest needed player. It's the best available player that has the most tangible value. Is how you're gonna you want to buy as cheap as you can, you want to sell as expensive as you can. And so you can create that with control, monopolization, and just having the best values. And so if you watch, there's always places that you can get value out of a draft like this. You always want to set the draft and set the pace for the draft, not react to the draft. So you want to be the person starting runs, not finishing runs. You don't want the last player in the tier, you want the first player in the tier. You want to begin to make the market move where you want it to move. Now, do you always get to do that? No, you don't. But what you can do is you can just let value slide, and sometimes you can force value to slide to you based on what other people need. So as we looked here, we were picking at the 109, the 204, the 304, the 409, the 504. So basically, we picked out the 9 spot with third round reversal. But I just kind of wanted to give us those first 5 picks so you kind of get a feel for where are we trying to pick, and where are those first 5 picks out of 52 selections. Where are we going to be picking? And we need to get the best 5 players we can out of the top 52. They're going to score us the most points. Right? That's got to, or have the most value, I should say. So that's kind of what we look at when we start to build. Is we look at the draft in those kind of sections. And here I'm pretty pleased with how it worked. Actually, we don't have any balance. we just have studs, and that's what I kind of looked at. It became real evident. Didn't plan like to go like this, but we became evident with at the 109. Jonathan Taylor's still there, so he wasn't going to get to 110. Like that just didn't make sense to me to let him go to 110. But then I knew, quarterbacks are flying off the board if there's 8 quarterbacks going before Jonathan Taylor. So I think there was actually maybe a tight end and a receiver that went, but I guess we're deep into the quarterback room already, and I know with you know getting the 204, we got to maybe address it depending on the eight players picked off the board in the middle, in that swing at the end. And again, I don't want to. If they're all quarterbacks going, I'm like refuse to get into that game. Like pick that last quarterback because you're forcing me to. I'd rather pick the best player and figure it out later. Well, I saw there was no rookie pick off the board yet, so we were picking rookies in the middle here. So I took the 101, and the reason was at that point hype was building with Willis, and I thought, you know what, we get a running back or we get Willis, and we're set. Either way, it might be a little bit of a stretch at the 204 to go with Hall, which is what it ended up being, but with Willis, then I have a quarterback one, and we're gonna, and at least we know he's young, and we know he's got upside like Lance, with my thinking, not knowing where he was going to get drafted in the NFL draft. At 304, Swift was still on the board, and at that point again, value, right? And now I'm thinking, we have no quarterbacks. If we don't, I don't want to be forced to take Willis at 101 because, so I need to stay very flexible in this draft. So in the 4th round at 409, so we're pretty far in. We're 45 picks into this draft. We did take Zach Wilson, who was about the best quarterback on the board. I think it was one that we were kind of debating between Wilson and we were actually debating about Tua. Tua went, so it didn't matter, but we just kind of took the leftover. But we were just talking that through, and that was what having a co-owner was. It was cool. I remember that conversation. We were just kind of figuring out who had the longer shelf life and which coach, picked the player versus which coach inherited the player and how that was going to run out and how the rookie contract was looking. And because we wanted, this was going to be our quarterback one, we needed to have it be a quarterback one, at least be playing quarterback in 2 years, so that's a key. Like we can't use a 4th round pick and not have the player play. When we got back to the 5th round, we took the 103 pick because only one more rookie had come off the board, and then I thought, oh boy, we reached on that 101, but we still got the 101. So coming back with the 103, that felt like the right play just based on everything else. I was looking around and there was no good receivers. Like their receiver run was crazy, and I'm like, you know what? We could go with another running back, but maybe the 103 will keep us flexible, and maybe it'll give us a receiver, or we'll have some abilities to maneuver at 103, controlling the 101 and the 103 in the rookie draft, and we'll be able to make this all work for us. Well, by the time we got to the 6th round, and that's the 609, and we're deep into the 6th round now. Josh Jacobs is still there, and he's 24 years old, so we just kind of went ahead and took him and said, okay, now we have a lot of running backs. Like we do have 3 flexes though, so we won't be short on running backs. Even with injuries, we'll just be next man up, and so felt really good about that. And we were like, okay, we need another quarterback. Do we take them there? But I was like, I think we can wait. And there's still some old guys to go off the board that we don't really want. So let's wait on our Daniel Jones guy and not take him in the 7th. Let's take that rookie pick in the 7th, the 6th and the 7th. We got Jacobson, and we got a rookie pick 106 in the 7th, and we actually still got Daniel Jones in the 8th, and Wentz in the 9th, and Jimmy G in the 10th. And so you say, well, why did you do that? Well, now we don't have to take Willis at 101 because we don't even have to take a quarterback because now we have 4. And so you multiply that out by 12, and we have 4 starting quarterbacks. We're like, okay, we're 48. Nobody else is going to be able to have. We're going to have the quarterback market. We already have the running back market, and now we have these rookie picks. I don't know what we're going to do with them, but this is a receiver-heavy draft, rookie draft, and so we can actually utilize those rookie picks to be valuable for us. If we just take receivers, we just have studs at this point. So it felt like the right move, and so we were kind of looking after 10 rounds and 10 picks. We're sitting with the 101, the 103, the 106, and I'm saying 3 top 6 picks. We have half of the rookie draft in the top 6, and so that felt like a good spot to be when we're sitting with 4 quarterbacks, and at that point we're sitting with 3 running backs. So that felt like a good spot to be in, even though we didn't have any receivers yet or any tight ends. At that point, I think we kind of talked about, hey, we're just going to punt the tight ends and we're going to just figure out later who is a young buck like John Bates last year or Uzama. We're just going to pick something like that. We're just going to get lucky. We're going to try to get a couple Dawson Knox types and get them later. And so that's kind of how we approached it. Pick 11 through 13, we went rookies, and we got the 201 to 203 to 204. So we were looking at that point, we didn't feel like there was anybody in those draft spots that were better than those top picks in the rookie draft. And we felt like any of those players we were going to pick, we could not trade for a second. And so that's kind of our barometer. When we got to the 14th and 15th round, we actually thought starting quarterbacks would bring more than a late second round pick, which is where they were in the rookie draft. Because once we picked that 204, now the rookie draft picks started flying off the board, and so we kind of set that up. So now we're like, okay, we just got to pick other players. So we went with Drew Lock as our 5th starting quarterback. We think he's going to start, and then we went with Jordan Love as well. And so he won't start this year, but he might start someday with his first round draft capital. And so we feel like we're set at the quarterback position. And so through 15 picks, we're sitting with 6 quarterbacks and 5 rookie picks and 3 running backs. So we felt very good. But our rookie picks were 6 in the top 16. So we felt like, again, we're controlling that whole front end of the rookie draft. Now, just kind of some idea of what we did with the rookie draft, because that's an important piece. It went a little differently than we thought. I mean, because now the NFL draft happens, we drew the rookie draft, and things are different than we thought. So with pick 1, we went with Hall. With pick 3, Walker fell to us. We actually had him rated 2 at the time. So we missed on Drake London. We would like to have him there, but now we feel like, we have all kinds of running backs now with 5 of them. Then we did take Pickett, which was on our board at the 6th spot. So we didn't get a chance in any of those the big 3 receivers. And at that point, we were really thinking, well, all right, let's just take a player that we think we can move on out. And now we have 6 starting quarterbacks this year. So somebody's not going to have starting quarterbacks. And if you check out the video where we break down the league, there are going to be people that are going to be looking for quarterbacks if they want to contend. And so we sit with the keys to their quarterback. So we have the quarterback and we have the running back room, and we can kind of decide when it makes sense for us to maneuver those picks for future draft capital or young players that make sense for us as well. So we're sitting there with that. Now our receiver room obviously is really light because we came back with those second round picks with Dotson and Bell and Robinson. So we do have 3 receivers, but they're kind of light, and we got some receivers late in the draft, and we got some young tight ends as well. We have Harrison Bryant and Tommy Tremble as our tight ends. So then when we got Dulcich and McBride here, that kind of gives us a couple young tight ends to see how they are and what they are. And then we have Algier here as a running back as well. So we really feel strong in our running back room, and we'll see how that running backs all pan out. But we'll probably take 2 running backs and trade them off for some receivers, and just to make the world go around if we think we have a shot to win. And really, that's how I feel like we are. I feel like we're really probably 2 receivers away from really winning. And maybe we just go, use it to go get a Deontay Johnson type or somebody, of some quality, and trade one of our running back depths. I mean, we probably won't get rid of, the top 3, JT or Swift or Hall, but I could see us getting rid of Walker or Jacobs or somebody like that, and really bringing back some quality receiver, in the process in that kind of a trade, which would make a big difference to us. So we'll just kind of play it out, see how we are, and look to balance as we go. But that's kind of how we built this thing up, and that's assuming we want to win this year. Like we may get to week 5 and say, what, we got killed by injuries. Let's not make any moves. Let's just sell off some of these assets and just take draft capital, and let's get 5 or 6 first round rookie picks next year, and let's see if we can turn this thing with 15 or 20 of draft picks next year's draft into something that can't be beat. And have a lot of teams like that. I really try to get rookie draft picks as we go, and that seems to be harder though, so I'm expecting that to be real hard in this league as well. And so we're just looking to kind of control the QB market, the running back market. That's what we have kind of monopolized here. and we'll see how it goes, from this point forward, and see how our young receivers pan out. So I want to thank you guys all for being part of the Clown Network, if you will, and being part of the Clown League. And so look forward to your comments on this team, and if you think this team will ever win. I guess a side note, Fantasy Pros has it ranked 12 out of 12, so it is the absolute worst team in this league. And so let me know if you think that this team can win in the next 10 years, if it can win 3 times or 4 times. I mean, our goal is always to win 4 times in 10 years, but let me know if you think this team can never win. I mean, I've heard it all, so it wouldn't shock me, and we'll see how it goes. But we'll look forward to coming back to you with next time with Fantasy Clown Show League number 2. That should be being produced here in the next week or so. So looking forward to that league and that team, and sharing that with all you guys as well. And so love to hear your feedback in the comments. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button as well, and we'll look forward to catching you next time.